Welcome students to the online NPTEL course Visual Communication Design for Digital Media. So in the previous lecture we were talking about the contemporary design movements and how the visual style of the design after industrial revolution, so post industrial revolution have changed. So we also discussed the modernist and postmodernist movement in the tangible media of print media and art, and then we moved on towards the digital media, and we discussed what kind of styles were there in the digital display system. So in this lecture we will discuss more about the technology advancement of digital media, because right now digital media is not just a display system on tab, mobile and desktop. So it's going farther, and it's a very nascent platform, and it's evolving each and every day. So we will discuss about the new technology advancements and how you can incorporate your visual skills into different paradigm and different mode of digital media platform. Today, so if we look at, so we this is the paradigm. The paradigm works in this way. So user is there, and digital media, we can perceive digital media through our laptop, our desktop, tab and mobile phones, and we can connect with the world. So here we are designing for these platforms. We are designing games, we are designing animation to be viewed in tabs, mobile apps, I mean it can be in Android, it can be in iOS platforms, but the display system is the system which the digital screen which appears in laptop or in desktop or in tab or in phone. But the digital media paradigm is shifting and it's changing towards this tangible digital display system. So these digital display systems are tangible. We can touch the screen and we can interact with the screen by clicking on, if it is touch screen, we can click on the screen, and if it is in case of keypads, so we can type on the keypads. But here we are, the new emerging technologies are evolved, where the paradigm is absolutely different. So the design style, UI information architecture, the way it has to be designed, the visuals and the typography, the images has to be relooked because the paradigm is becoming very different. And today also we have different medias, like here initially it was if we are talking communicating with the world with one mobile or one tablet and one laptop, they were not initially interconnected. So right now we have interconnected things. So our mobile phone can be connected with our laptops, and it can be even connected by some more wearable, more tangible things like watches, and so which can take our voice command and gesture commands. So we need to know these things, because initially the command system was typing and clicking. So while designing for that, we need to design in a different way. But while designing for voice command and gesture commands, we have to design in a different way. So for iOS app, for example, we have the Apple Watch, and even the Siri, the application Siri takes our voice command. So this design of Siri has to be absolutely different from a keypad. So keypad, initially the command was taken only from the keypad. So in terms of visual design, things are also changing. Here we also have a Samsung watch which gives a similar opportunity. But right now the new advancements are happening in terms of virtual reality, mixed reality and augmented reality. We will discuss what they are, and there the display system, the typography, use of typography and use of images, use of everything will be relooked, but definitely the principles and everything, everything has to be the same. The principles will eventually be followed. The principles of color, principles of elements of design and principles, and the typography, every principles will be followed, even the gestures principle and everything, because those are eternal. But the mode in the platform, the paradigm is just the different. So if we discuss about virtual reality, what is it? Everything we perceive through a digital media is actually virtual. So in terms of phone, if we are listening to some voices, so which were not there in the real world, but they are virtual. But in terms of design, the term virtual reality is a little different. So we don't consider the displays in mobile and displays in laptops as virtual, though they are virtual, but they are not, they don't come within the term virtual reality, or VR is defined in UI UX domain. So VR and virtual reality will be, we'll call it virtual reality when the sound, when the when the visual will completely take the user into a complete different world. So it will have to mimic the realistic three-dimensional environment in a very realistic way, so so that the people feel that they are in the completely different world. So for example, we have some virtual reality headset like Oculus Rift, Google Gear, Samsung Gear, Google Cardboard, and HTC Vive. So if we wear this headset, we will not perceive any sound, and any will not see any visual from the real world. We'll only look at the projection of three-dimensional world in the visual projection, and the sound will be also given in the complete different sound will be also given. So we will completely move from will be completely cut off from the real world to the virtual world in terms of only visual and sound. So and then there is also a mixed reality, because virtual reality is just for it's more dominantly there in game and animation, when we want to involve the user more into the application. So game and animation, which requires higher involvement of user, higher interaction with the user, will be more towards the full virtual reality. But in terms of UI applications and doing our day-to-day life, we need to have a connection with the physical world as well, because we are not playing game and we are not in a completely different world like 3D animations in a virtual world. So the term mixed reality combines the physical, let us perceive the physical reality world in terms of sound, haptics or touch, and in terms of visual, but also adds a layer of information, a layer of another it can be a visual information, it can be a sound information on top of physical reality. So it blends physical reality with virtual reality. That's why it's called mixed reality. So there are some technologies which are available there, and which are on the process of launching. So one is Google Glass, which Google was researching on Google Glass. So Google Glass let us perceive the physical world, but it talks about it gives added information in terms of visual and in terms of sound. So if we look at the Google Glass conceptual drawing, so here the person perceives the physical world, or also there are a lot of informations. It can be information about the flight, it can be information about time, temperature, and everything they can perceive. The user can perceive through a projection in the glass. So some videos can be played on top of the world. So the way it is written. So here we have to play with the figure ground relationship, and we again have to select the typography very clearly, and what will be the foreground's opacity and the background's opacity, and how much you want to show the background or the physical reality, and how much the virtual reality projections will be there, and where the projections will be there, and where our main eye is there, and what kind of information we have to take from the physical world is very important. And here we have also have to use the eye trackers, and we need to understand where people look at. So a demonstration of eye tracker will be given in a methodology section of visual design. So how we track people's eye, and how we understand where people are looking at, where are the and interpret the heat map of an eye tracker, and how what are the areas in the three-dimensional frame where user focus. So these things has to be incorporated in the design of this mixed reality platform. Even the Microsoft HoloLens has a similar concept. They also has a head-mounted wearable mixed reality system, and here you can see in the concept their concept image. So on top of the environmental of a physical layer, there are virtual informations added on top of it. So you have to play with the opacity, and you have to play with the position of where the projection will happen, and all these informations are added on top of that to enhance our day-to-day activity and work and to perform us better. So augmented reality has a similar concept. It's also similar, but the term is different based on their the way it has evolved. So augmented reality, in terms of augmented reality, there can be a QR code, and if we scan through our digital devices, for example mobile camera or the tablet camera, the QR code will generate a kind of a three-dimensional form which will be superimposed on the physical reality platform. So here it can be a three-dimensional form, it can be just some information. So it's not very different from a mixed reality, but it's the name is different because it's augmented reality is only only in the domain of visual, and it has a lot of limitation. It's not as as broad as mixed reality. So here we have some informations available on the physical reality world. So what happens here is the camera scans the image, and it generates some kind of digital image in the display system. Then we talk about the future, the way it's evolving, where we are leading in the domain of digital media in the next few decades, where we will be. So we can discuss about the sixth sense and the Internet of Things and the haptic technology. So first we discuss the Internet of Things, how it is. It's also it's connecting our day-to-day object, and it's not just connecting some digital devices together. It's connecting all the appliances, and it perceives that all the appliances will be smart appliances, and they will communicate with each other in terms of exchanging data and reading their data, and there will be a kind of a machine learning happening in terms of processing the data and acting accordingly. So we can control, we can take data from all the devices, all the smart devices, ranging from smart refrigerator, smart TV to smart illumination system, smart air conditioning system, even the automobiles, and we can control through a centralized control system. So that was the future domain, and the way Internet of Things are perceived. If you watch the movie Her, which talks about the similar concept, where a person communicates with the mobile with his laptop, and through voice command, and does his work. So this was definitely a futuristic movie, but it's talks about the Internet of Things. And there are some already available appliances which is done in the domain of Internet of Things. For example, Google Home. So Google Home is a device which connects all the home smart home appliances. All the appliances has to be electronics, and will be able to send the data to the Google Home, and should be able to connect with the Google Home. So in through the Google Home, it can be connected. The appliances can be connected, and you can give command to the appliances, and you can control the appliances, for example refrigerator, smart TVs, and other home appliances through this Google Home. Internet of Things can range from home appliances to micro level home appliances towards the macro level CT, it can also translate in the CT level. For example, it can create some concepts of smart city, and it can also be in transportation design or automobile, and in many other domains. So in terms of smart city, we can look at the Florence bus stop designed by MIT Media Lab. So they designed the bus stop with all the informations of the location of the buses and the other vehicles will be given on the digital display system of the bus. So here the digital display system is not confined within our laptop, within our mobile. It's on the facade of the bus stop. So in the bus stop screen, bus stop's transparent material, the system will be embedded, the display system will be embedded, and the location about the buses and all these informations will be tracked by GPS system, and the information will be given, and even the map of the city and sensors, the climatological sensors will collect the climatic data, for example, humidity, temperature and everything, and time, and all these things will be displayed on this digital system. So this display system is connected with the GPS system of the bus says location, as well as the sensors which can be there in the throughout the city, and city can be transformed in a living laboratory, and all the sensors will collect the pollution level, temperature and humidity data, and feed that to this bus stop. So this is actually a concept of Internet of Things, which connects all the sensors throughout the city and all the GPS systems, and gives the exchange the information amongst themselves. So another example can be the BMW's new Vision Next 100 concept motorcycle. This is not launched, but this is there. So this this automobile, this is a two-wheeler. So this is not just a two-wheeler, it connects with your eye headgear. So headgear, and as well as your jacket. You have to wear a particular jacket. So this is the jacket you have to wear while driving, and in the hand there has to be a sensor. So it connects the vehicle, the two-wheeler, with the jacket you wear, and with the head mounted visual system, and as well as the sensors which we are wearing on your finger. So it connects all these three things, and what is the facility it gives? It what you see, and it perceives that, and it tells where are the different positions of different objects. So it perceives what is the distance between different objects, and it avoids clashes, and even your body and the jacket has sensors, and which transforms, which takes the information about your body movement, and feeds that to the vehicle, and even there is a possibility to tilt and possibility to crash. So the vehicle will automatically adjust itself, and through the sensors which you are wearing on your finger, you can give gesture command. So if you so there will be some gesture command which they will add with the two-wheeler. So through your finger you can navigate and drive the two-wheeler. Then we have future of digital media. We can discuss about the sixth sense. The concept was given by Pranav Mistry of Samsung. So in sixth sense, it is also a similar concept. So all the sensors what you wear on here, you can look at the figure. You wear on your fingers of both the hands, the mirrors and cameras and the microphones, and all the mobile or computing devices will be connected together. So this is also a mixed reality system of visualizing things. So on everything it will scan through your camera, and it will take the informations by scanning through your camera and give you informations, and through an augmented digital reality platform. So the next level also, if we think about the future, there are a lot of research on the haptics, because we are talking about visual, and we are talking about sound. These are already there, and we are and the designers and developers have progressed a lot in terms of blending the physical reality within the virtual in terms of sound and visual. But the haptic, which means the touch sensation, is yet to be, it's a little far-fetched, and right now the next process, a lot of scientists are researching on the haptic sensation, how the touch sensation or the tactile sensation of a real material can be translated, and how we can interact with the physical reality in terms of touching and in terms of holding. So here there can be, we can discuss again MIT Media Labs tangible medias, the way they are progressing. Here you can see there are a lot of pixels. Again, the concept of pixels are transformed into a 3D tangible volume. So there will be a lot of you can perceive that as a voxel, but tangible voxels. So these small voxels on 3D pixels will be can be touched, and they will interact according to your command. So here it will interact with the ball, and here there is a person sitting somewhere else, and he's just display the image is displayed over here, but he's with some sensors, his position of the hand is tracked, and the position of the hand, the form of the hand is mimicked with these voxels, and he's playing with the ball, which is far away, but he can hold the ball, and he can move the ball with this technology. So these are some emerging technologies, and it's need of the hour to know about these technologies, because the designers and the UX designers and the developers are moving into which direction we need to know, and we need to apply our visual design skills accordingly. So after discussing all the varied advancement in the technology of digital media, in the next module onwards, we'll discuss what are the different methodology. We'll start discussing the methodology in first, we'll discuss the generic design methodology in visual design domain, and then as it's a very different domains are there within the visual communication design, for example animation, game, and then we have web application, and then we also have the graphic design. They are very different. The methodology of designing in each and every domain is also different. So after discussing the general design methodology, we will discuss in each and every different segments and discuss their methodology, and we also will talk about the eye tracking system and how you can incorporate users' feedback into your methodology part. Thank you.